But in the longer term, assuming that the pieces can hold, it's an interesting idea. I'm not saying it's going to work. I don't know. There's too much at stake. I'm sorry, I phrased that wrong. There's too many moving pieces. And the legalisms and the legal challenges, of course, are going to complicating things. But by eliminating the asylum category, and that's how almost everyone has crossed the border in the last 6 years. That's going to, at a minimum, buy us some time.
New policy,
well, I mean, it's a new policy. It was only released this week. They're still teaching the staff how to deal with it. And those centers down in like Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador, they're only now getting set up. So, this is the plan for moving forward. We're now in a transition.
Strikes me
as long as that laundry machine function is in play, this is not going to work. The goal is to end that. Well, they kind of fall into two general categories, the economic and the political. And with the economic, to be perfectly blunt, I don't really care. I can warn people about what's coming, and if they decide to ignore the warnings and just go into the bear's mouth, that's their business. And I know, because I've got a big enough reach now, that I am turning people's minds. And so the folks that are doing dumb things aren't simply doing dumb things. They're doing so in an environment where more and more people are kind of waking up and doing the smart thing. So there is definitely a little bit of Stockton Freud going on here, as I see firms like Apple that have just consistently done the dumbest possible thing regard to China, now all of a sudden like desperate and scrabbling like a dog on a tile floor trying to change track. And honestly, I'm really enjoying it. Politics are different in part because of where we are politically, in part because of what the Russians have done. The threshold for political violence has dropped. And so when I see people who are simply trying to report the truth in journalism, or people who are actively trying to lie, the difference between having a civil discourse and actually wielding force against a fellow citizen, those lines are a lot closer than they used to. And I haven't been beaten up or shot at yet. But it is problematic that an increasing percentage of the American population says publicly that it's okay to use violence when you don't get your way politically. Not even because they think it was a rigged election, just because they think the other people are wrong.
Yeah.
That will have consequences if we can't get that under control. And that's one of the big reasons why I'm really hopeful that this is going to be our last presidential cycle with the old political structures. In a new, more stable system, each party will police their own to a degree, and I'm really ready to be there. If I could pick one thing that we could do very quickly, I would destroy Facebook and Twitter.
You know what?
It's like Twitter has just become a cesspool of misinformation. I don't even look at my feed anymore because it's all Russian propaganda and Bitcoin bros and what's the other group? Elon fanatics. And I don't engage with any of those people, but now that is my entire feed. When Elon released the algorithm, we found out that he was pushing Ukraine news below disinformation, which took half of the use that I had for Twitter and just removed it. And then in the case of the Facebook, they are still actively marketing your personal data to not just political folks, but fraudsters and foreign governments. And the fact that we're still allowing that to stand just horrifies me.
Are the answer?
VPNs wouldn't help. So the way the Chinese government uses TikTok is TikTok obviously has to archive all the data, and then when the Chinese government wants information on a person, they basically deliver the equivalent of a court order to TikTok, who then provides the information requested. That's bad. That should stop. I have no problem banning TikTok because of that. What Facebook does is it gathers your data without anyone asking, and then actively goes out to find buyers, which include the Chinese government. So in the case of TikTok, the Chinese government has to choose to come after you. In the case of Facebook, Facebook helps the Chinese government identify the people that the Chinese government might want to go after. One of these is an order of magnitude worse than the other. They should both go away. And the way you get around the free speech issue is you don't ban the technology. You just destroy the platform and put a few people in jail.
Can we do that? Do we have the legal mechanisms?
Not without Congress. We would need to revise the 1996 the Internet Communications Law, which basically says that no platform is liable for anything done or said on their platforms.
That's the whole platform versus publisher thing. They're not a publisher, exactly. They're a platform, but they behave like publishers.
The things that Tucker Carlson says on air, I can't say that in a book, because that is illegal. That's slander. The reason that Tucker has been ousted is because people sued him for slander. Now, if he does this on Twitter, he's free and clear.
I'm still failing to see how we thread the needle between freedom of speech.
I'm not suggesting it's easy. Free speech never is. This is not the first time that we have dealt with a new communications technology that has proven problematic. The last big one was the telegraph. That took us 40 years.
Okay.
I'm hoping this one will be a little bit faster. And the next iteration should clean this up. That is fraught. That is unavoidably fraught. But that's where we have to go. It used to be that you could yell fire in a movie theater until we decided that was no longer kosher and it could no longer be productive speech. We have to do the same thing for this platform now. Yeah, and the problem we're going to have is not so much the millennials, who we all think of as, tech savvy, but Gen Z. Now, they're not really politically active yet, but they tend to be loners. They tend to be online a lot. They don't have a lot of close personal friends. The ones they have, they're very loyal to, but they're digitized on everything. And if we can't fix these platforms soon, then they will be growing into adulthood in that sort of environment. And, that's not going to help anyone. You want to talk about a European-style demographic bomb hitting the United States is if the Zoomers continue to be as isolated as they are in an era of social media.
I mean, for just one example, if you talk about the person you love the most in the world, your partner, whatever you've known for however many years, it's kind of impossible that there won't be times in which, even though you know and love each other, you misunderstand each other, get really, really pissed off and shout at each other, right? That happens in every relationship. And yet these younger generation who've been kind of brainwashed by this ideology, social psychological construct, they seem to think that, they can go out there with people even that they don't know, and they can read misunderstandings into people. It's quite terrifying. How are these people going to manage relationships with each other? Add that to the fact that we're seeing, huge increases in depression, self-harm, and even suicide rates amongst young people.
Yeah, these are all traits of the Zoomers.
Say that again, Peter. They're all traits.
These are all traits of the Zoomers. That defines this generation.
How are we going to grow out of this? Any idea?
That's the question.
We need to help them by providing a better means of communication.
So, we'll end with this. Domestic, I know you're geopolitics, but with regards to how we deal with geopolitics domestically, one of your first courses of action, if you were to lay it out, would be to redesign how we communicate.
Well, I wouldn't say that's necessarily a geopolitical thing, but that would solve a lot of our domestic political issues and some of our distractions when it does come to then dealing with geopolitics.
That's where I was going. Okay.